Okay, I'm Weiland. I hope you've been enjoying this little series of lessons that I learned while writing my historical/dieselpunk novel, Storming, which releases in 1 week on December 4th. This is going to be the fourth and last video in our series. As you may know, I write both historical and speculative fiction, and Storming was special since it allowed me to combine both by starting out with a historical setting, barnstorming in 1920s Nebraska, and then adding some punk elements. And for those of you who don't know, dieselpunk is basically just steampunk that's set somewhere in between the world wars. So even though this wasn't a strictly realistic story, it still required lots of research into time and place, and particularly early aviation. Because this is something that I'm frequently asked about, today I'm going to share my top 7 tips for researching a historical novel, or really any kind of novel. So, tip number 1, start researching now. Whenever I run across an interesting tidbit that applies to any of my story ideas, I make a note of it and save it for future reference. 2, write your outline before you start researching. This allows you to discover the specific questions that you're going to need to answer during your research. 3, make a list of all of the topics that you need to learn about, and then search through Amazon and your libraries to find your resources. 4, limit your research. Either read all the way through your initial list of resources, depending on how big it is, or set yourself a time limit. 3 months is pretty standard for me. 5, use your highlighter, both physically and the highlighter tool in your e-reader. 6, type up your research notes every day. This is probably the biggest tip I have. Notes are useless if you can't access them, and nothing beats the accessibility of the search function on your computer. It is totally worth the outlay of time in the beginning to type up those notes. And the great thing about e-readers is that you don't even have to type your notes up. You can email yourself your highlights and then just copy-paste them into your research. And finally, 7, divide your research into subheadings. For example, headings in Storming's research included barnstorming, aviation anecdotes, and plane wrecks. So, there you have it, a complete plan for researching a historical novel or anything else you can dream up.